Hello and welcome to Ekcel Academy. We are bringing in the most awaited video for the students. We are receiving a lot of messages and calls asking us what are the important chapters that we have to focus on for the exam. So here we are bringing in a video on what are the important chapters that you have to cover for the purpose of the CS executive program belonging to both group 1 as well as group 2. So we are going to see for all 7 subjects. But before going to identifying what are those important chapters, I am bringing a disclaimer or a disclosure that please ensure that if you want to do well in the exam, if you want to go with confidence, if you want to write for full 100 marks, you have to study for 100% of your syllabus. You cannot skip any chapter. The institute is very clear. They are going to balance out the question paper. They are going to ensure that they are going to ask at least one question from every chapter. They are not going to leave anything unattended. So if you want to attempt for 100 marks, you should be prepared for each and every chapter. Then why am I bringing this list of important chapters? It is for the purpose of two categories of students. First category, if you have already completed 100% of the syllabus, you can use this list of important chapters to prioritize your revisions. What is the order in which you should revise the chapters? Always revise with the high weighted chapters first and then go down the ladder. Similarly, for the students who have not studied 100% of the syllabus, you cannot go unprepared to the exam. Please attempt the exam even if you are not prepared. You can improve your preparations, you can better your preparations, you can level up your preparations by first studying those chapters which carry high weightage, and then you can go and focus on the other remaining chapters. So this is how you should use the list of important chapters. It is for structured preparations who have not completed the preparations, and for those category of students who have completed their preparations, they can use this for the purpose of structured revision and better preparation. Let's identify the first group subjects. We have 4 subjects: JIGL, Company Law, SBIL and CAFM. Let's first see what are the list of important chapters for the subject JIGL. The most important thing that you should remember for JIGL is there is no segregation or division of the subject. The entire subject is for 100 marks. So you have to prepare accordingly. For any other subject, all the other remaining subjects are divided in part A, part B. So you can focus on one part more, have a strong preparation for one part, and little you can neglect the other part. But that does not happen in a subject like JIGL because you don't know what is the segregation, what is the type of question paper that they are going to set. So one added advantage that all of you have now is that the institute has deleted 4 chapters from your syllabus. So now you just have to study actually 14 chapters for covering 100 marks, which is not difficult, which is not impossible. So now let's identify what are the important chapters. I'm going to segregate the chapters into 3 categories: high weightage, very important chapters. Second one is the important chapters, and last one is the residuary chapters, which you will cover after completing very important chapters and important chapters. The most important chapters in JIGL, first one is the Constitution of India. This chapter has carried high weightage not only now, even under the old syllabus. If you just see even the question paper of the new syllabus, most of the case study type of questions are based on the Indian Constitution. I'm talking about the first and second question that carries 20 to 25 marks is from the Indian Constitution. Very important, and it is going to remain significantly important because that is the law of our country. Then next important chapters are law relating to crime and its procedure and law relating to evidence, because recently the BNS, BNSS and BSA have been introduced. So there is a high probability that these are the chapters that the institute is going to focus on. So you have to prepare well for these chapters. Then you have law relating to arbitration, mediation and conciliation. It is the growing industry, that is the ADR mechanisms. So institute also is going to lay emphasis on this particular chapter. Then you have contract law, right? So these are the chapters that you should give priority to first. Once you complete these chapters, your second round of chapters will be administrative law, law of torts, law relating to civil procedure, right to information and information technology. These are the next important chapters. Out of this, most of the chapters are easy, like information technology, RTI, torts. Even administrative law is easy. Slightly complicated is civil procedure, but these come in the second important category of chapters. Last, what you can keep for your preparations is sources of law, interpretation of statutes, limitation, and the negotiable instruments provisions. So these are the 4 chapters that you can keep towards the end after completing the chapters that I have provided. If you study in the order of the preference that I have given, it is going to help you prepare better for the exams. Let's go to the second subject, that is company law. We have the syllabus divided into 2 parts, part A, part B, the ratio being 60-40. How should you prepare for this particular subject? Always begin your preparations by focusing on part B of the syllabus, because you have limited number of chapters carrying 40 marks, which is also significant, right? So what should you focus on? High priority chapter being general meetings, very, very important. Board composition and powers of the board, very, very important. Then you have managerial remuneration, key managerial personnel and their remuneration. These are high weighted chapters. Then after you finish that, you're going to focus on the chapter relating to directors, meeting of the board, as well as annual return concepts. There is no third category of chapter here, because significantly part B, everything is important. Everything is going to be used by a company secretary in the day-to-day activities when he's working. So everything is important, but you can focus on the chapters on the basis of prioritization that I have given. One more added advantage is the chapter on CSR has been now deleted from the syllabus. Otherwise, even that used to be a high weighted chapter, but now they've moved that to the CS professional level. So you have to focus on general meeting, board composition and the powers of the board. You have to focus on key managerial personnel and their remuneration. In the second round of your revisions, you're going to focus on the directors, meeting of the directors and annual report concepts. Then you will come to part A of the syllabus, which carries 60 marks. For 60 marks, you are required to study 11 chapters. Earlier 12 were there, but now the last chapter, inspection, inquiry and investigation, has been deleted by the institute. So you have 11 chapters. I have segregated these chapters, the most important one being MOA, AOA, share and share capital, members and the shareholders, and compromise, arrangement and amalgamations. These are the important chapters that you should focus on. After you finish these chapters, you're going to focus on the chapter that is distribution of profits, accounts and auditors and dormant company. Dormant company is a very small chapter, but 100% you're definitely going to get a question from that particular chapter. So it comes under second important list. And lastly, once you finish these chapters, you can focus on introduction to company law, types of registered companies, debt instruments and charges. Again, charges is an important chapter. They are going to ask questions. Like I said, the institute is going to ensure that they cover every chapter. But I've kept charges to the last because it is a chapter which is easily understandable and a small chapter. So even if you keep it at the end, the revision will become quicker. You cannot keep a lengthy chapter which has a lot of complexities towards the end. So all the complex chapters you finish revising first, and the simpler ones which take lesser time for revision, you keep it towards the end. Just because I've put charges under the third category does not mean that it is not important. We have taken multiple factors into consideration while determining what is the order in which you should do the revision. Just because charges is under the last category does not mean it is not important. It is a chapter which is easy. Small and quick revision can suffice for that chapter. That is why it has come under the third category of chapters. So this is the order in which you should revise for the purpose of company law. Next, coming to the next subject, that is JIGL, even that is SBILL, paper 3 of group 1. Again, this is divided in the ratio 60-40. 60 is for setting up of business and 40 marks is for labor laws. Even for this, I suggest that you always begin your preparation by revising for labor laws first, and then you go to part A of the syllabus. Under part B of the syllabus, what is the important aspect that you should focus on? Most important being the law relating to wages. 100% they are going to ask 15 marks, close to 15 marks from this particular chapter. Then you have chapter on welfare and working conditions of this, and Sexual Harassment of Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act. Very, very important. Definitely there are going to be questions from this particular chapter as well. Once you finish this, you're going to focus on constitution aspect relating to labor laws and industrial relations. Even in this, first focus on industrial relation and then second you focus on constitution and labor matters. Last, what you're going to see is the evaluation for labor legislations and the need for new labor laws. Here maximum they can ask for 5 marks. What are the laws that have been subsumed into one of the codes? That's all they can ask from that particular chapter. So it is least significant with terms of the weightage of marks. So this is the order of preference that you should have when you're preparing for the labor laws under part B. Once you finish the labor law provisions, then you can come to part A of the syllabus where you're going to see setting up of business. In this, high weighted chapters are limited liability partnership, conversion of business entities, financial service organizations, setting up of branch office, wholly owned subsidiary or foreign companies. And lastly, various initial registrations and licenses. Okay, these are the important chapters. Once you cover these chapters, then you're going to focus on startup and its registrations, MSMEs, and the setting up of business outside India. After you cover these chapters, you're going to focus on basic things like what is the method of selection of organization, business organization, corporate entities and companies, non-corporate entities, and identifying laws applicable to various industries and various compliances. So this is the order of preference that you should study for the purpose of setting up of business entities. Now coming to the last subject under group 1, that is your CAFM, again which is divided in the ratio 60-40. We are going to always suggest that please study part B of the syllabus first, that carries 40 marks. There are many reasons for that. This is more formula based. You have the probability of getting the right answer. You can go wrong very less in the concepts relating to financial management. There is more complexity involved in corporate accounting, so keep that towards the second aspect of preparation. So start your preparation with financial management, that is 40 marks of your syllabus. Most important chapters being capital budgeting, capital structure, working capital management. Very, very important. Second important chapters becoming cost of capital, dividend decision, security analysis, and time value of money. And lastly, you can focus on the basic introduction aspect and operational approach to financial decisions. This is the order in which you should do your preparations for the purpose of financial management. Again, I'm saying solve as many as problems as you can from the chapters relating to capital budgeting, capital structure, and working capital management. From cost of capital and dividend also you're going to get chapters, and since it is more formula based, both cost of capital and dividend decision, and I'm keeping it in the second level. For working capital management, capital budgeting, as well as capital structure, there is certain level of brain application. So I've kept that as high priority for the purpose of revision, because there is conceptual knowledge that is required, deep understanding is required. So that I've kept in the first level. In second level of preparations, I've kept those chapters which are more formula based, memory based. You have to remember the formula. If you know the formula, you can just apply it and get the marks. So that is why those are the chapters: cost of capital, dividend decision, security analysis I've kept in the third level, and most basic is introduction and last operational approach to financial decisions. Once you have covered your financial management part, then you're going to come to part A of the syllabus, that is corporate accounting, which is going to carry 60 marks. Significant chapters under this particular syllabus is your accounting of share capital, accounting of debentures, very, very important. Consolidation of accounts, I somehow have a feeling that this attempt they are going to give preference to this particular chapter. Then after that, you're going to focus on accounting standards. Definitely there is going to be a question on accounting standards, aspects related to company accounts, financial statement analysis, and cash flow statements. Last, you're going to focus on basics of accounting, basics of corporate accounting, and forecasting of financial statements. You prepare in this particular order. Again, I'm saying every chapter is important. You should prepare for every chapter. Don't leave anything. We are identifying the chapters only for the purpose of prioritization, only for you, helping you, giving you guidance of in what order you should prepare for the exams, how you should revise the chapters, in what priority you should study the chapters. Now, moving towards group 2 of the executive program, 3 subjects are there: CMSL, ECIPL and tax laws. Talking about CMSL, again the entire ratio is 40-60. Generally it is 60-40, but this is the only subject where part A carries 40 marks and part B carries 60 marks. So, you're going to begin with part A of the syllabus, which is very simple. High weighted chapters are the Securities Contract Regulation Act, the secondary market, the Securities Exchange Board of India and securities market intermediaries. Very, very important. Generally, according to me, the secondary market in India is not a very significantly important chapter from practical applicability, but that is the chapter that institute focuses on. There are a lot of concepts that are time and again being questioned in the question paper. So, from the perspective of weightage, it becomes relevant. So, you have to focus on secondary market, SCRA Act, SEBI Act and chapter on intermediaries is also very important. It is a very simple chapter, very small chapter, easy to prepare, and they definitely are going to ask questions from that chapter. So, prepare well. Next, second category of important chapters become basics of capital market, depositories and depository participants, that is the Depositories Act. And lastly, you are going to focus on International Financial Service Center Authority enactment. Once you come to part B of the syllabus, the most important legislation or the most important chapter will become the LODR regulations that you should focus on first. Before, even in the list of important chapters, first you should study LODR regulations, highly important chapter for the exam. Not only in one attempt, but in every attempt, LODR is that one chapter that is not going to be missed. High weighted chapter. Then you are going to focus on ICDR regulations, you are going to focus on PIT regulations and chapter on mutual funds. The institute asks a lot of practical oriented questions from the chapter relating to mutual funds where calculations are required to be made. So, that is why it has gained significance in the past few attempts. Next category of chapters that you should focus on are the share-based employee benefits and sweat equity shares. Then your SAST regulations, your delisting regulations and buyback of securities. Lastly, you are going to focus on listing of non-convertible securities and unfair trade practices relating to securities market. These two chapters have been added now in the new syllabus. It was not there in the old syllabus. Both the chapters are very small, very short, simple to understand. So, that is why I have kept it in the last, that even if you have like 2-3 hours, you can quickly revise it. It does not require a lot of revision time. Those are small chapters. That is why I have kept it in the third category of chapters. Last one is collective investment scheme. Again, if you understand the concept of mutual funds, understanding CIS is not difficult. The revision is also easier. So, these are the 3 chapters that you can keep at the end. After completing the chapters, you can focus on these 3 chapters. Next, let's move to the next aspect, next subject, that is economic, commercial and intellectual property laws. Even this is divided in the ratio 60-40. 40 marks is for intellectual property laws, and I always say that begin your preparation with intellectual property laws. 3 important chapters are there that you cannot forget, that is patent, trademark and copyright. Very, very important, significantly high weighted chapters. After that, you are going to focus on GI and designs, and lastly, in the last, you are going to keep the basics of intellectual property laws. This is the order of revision that you should follow. Coming to part A of ECIPL, which is going to carry 60 marks. I have divided again into 3 categories, the most important being law relating to FEMA, FDI, competition and consumer protection. Again, competition law and consumer protection law, somehow I have an inclination will carry weightage in this particular attempt. After that, after you finish that, you're going to focus on FTP, you're going to focus on the RERA provisions, and you're going to focus on FCRA provisions. After you finish that, you can focus on ODI, SCZs, Money Laundering Act and legal metrology. All these enactments that I've told you are simple, small, easy to understand concepts. So, that is why I've kept it at the last. And you can quickly revise it even in a shorter span of time. So, those chapters which are complex, those chapters which require a lot of understanding, those chapters which are lengthy, those chapters which carry high weightage will come under the first category of chapters. And the ones which are small, simple to understand, they will carry weightage. At least 5 marks from every chapter is guaranteed. Right? 5 marks from every chapter is guaranteed. So, you have to study everything. But because they are small, easy, quicker to understand, I've put it under the third category. So this is the order of preference you should follow for ECIPL. Moving to the last subject, that is tax loss. Your tax loss is also divided in the ratio 60-40. 60 is for direct tax, 40 is for indirect tax. In this, I will not say what should be your preparation. Few students are very good and strong in direct tax. Few students are very strong in GST. So, whichever is your strength, whatever you find more interesting, whatever you are more confident with, you begin your preparation with that particular part. So, if you are going to begin your preparations with the direct tax, you should focus on the heads of income, very, very important. Salary, house property, business profession and capital gains. Apart from that, one more high weighted chapter is with respect to basics of income tax, where they are going to ask the residential status of individuals. So for that one concept, this basics of income tax becomes important. Once you finish these chapters, you're going to go to the second level of important chapters, that you're going to focus on income from other sources, clubbing of income, deductions, and the procedural compliance, because as much as they are going to also ask you practical questions, they are also going to ask you direct theory questions. And procedural requirements is very, very important with respect to tax matters. What are the due dates? What are the forms to be filed? So that becomes important from that perspective. Once you have completed this, you can go to the least or the most basic chapters, that is the direct taxes at glance, incomes which do not form a part of total income, computation of income tax for various entities, computation of tax for companies. In this order of preference, you can study. Coming to the aspects of GST, which carries 40 marks, you are going to focus on time, value and place of supply, very, very important. They are going to ask you to identify. Then you have input tax credit and computation of GST liability. These are the two significantly important chapters under the GST laws. Then second important becomes your procedural compliance as well as custom provisions. Definitely there are going to be questions from the Customs Act, so that becomes relevant. And lastly, you are going to focus on the basic aspects of levy and collection of GST, basics of GST and concept of indirect tax. So this is the order. Even order is like this. First you finish levy and collection, then you focus on the basics of GST and then the concepts of indirect tax. This is the order in which you should prepare for a subject like GST or indirect tax. So by this we come to an end on discussion of all the important chapters for all the subjects of the CS executive program. I am saying it again that please study all the chapters. We are here to just give you important chapters to help you prepare better, to prioritize your revisions. That is the main purpose or objective of bringing this video. Study well. You still have a lot of time for the exams. Make each and every day count. You might have not prepared well till now, but even today you can turn your journey by being consistent every single day. You can do it. So have this positive mindset that I can do it and begin your preparation with full-fledged. Just saying that I can do it and actually not doing anything will not bring results. Along with the change in positive mindset, you should also put efforts from your side. Only if you put efforts, the results will show. So be consistent, make every day count, study every day, and you will definitely do well in the exams. If you have any other queries, any other issues, you can feel free to contact us at 973-973-3400. We are here to solve all your issues and queries with related to the CS course. Study well and all the best for your exam preparations.